Ladies and gentlemen, in addition to the aesthetically pleasing shot of that Borgogna's camo, this video is going to demonstrate the epic secondary mod in action on the Tier 8 German battlecruiser Prinz Rupprecht, and it's also going to depict a terrible throw on the part of the red team. Spoiler alert. But so many things go into making this throw a thing that I can't not go back and analyze it. This game, of course, happened on my most recent live stream, so some of you may be familiar with it, but I think it's good to go back after the match has occurred, because I'm not necessarily giving the most cogent analysis when I'm playing this live, and I can sort of walk you through exactly what happened here. Plus, we'll get to see the epic secondary mod in action. For those of you who are not aware of what it does, with every 50 secondary hits you land when you have this mod on your ship, you increase, or rather decrease, the reload of the secondaries by 5%, and you can stack this bonus 5 times for a total decrease of 25%, which means these secondaries are shooting quickly. And in the time I was explaining that to you, you may have noticed the friendly Shimakaze went down as the first casualty, because of course it did. That's typically how Shimakazes start off games in World of Warships Legends these days, and yet for some reason this seems to be one of the most feared destroyers at the legendary tier. Don't worry, we'll see another example of just how scary the Shimakaze can be for your team's chances of winning in any case. Our destroyer at Alpha is dead, and thus we are not going to push into Alpha, although the dead Shimakaze does manage to hit the GK over there for quite a bit of damage, but he did die to torpedoes, so obviously we're not going to push into this cap. And in fact, we're going to turn toward Bravo. You can see that since the beginning, my team has all been moving in the direction of the Alpha Cap. They're forming what we will call the classic lemming train, and that is going to play into setting up the win conditions for the Reds, the win conditions that they are going to tragically blow before all is said and done. But we've got a while before we get there. Yamato around the corner, he shoots at us, we get our secondaries going, and we're going to start off getting hits. Remember, it is only 50 hits that we need to decrease our reload even further, which means that the more hits we get, the faster we're able to stack on these bonuses. There's the Shimakaze. The reason we didn't push into the Alpha Cap, turns out he's gone all the way around, and I guess he's been spotted by the friendly destroyer over there, which means he's smoking up. We are, of course, trying to get our guns on target, because we always want to shoot at the destroyer, but the Shima goes dark, so we must turn our attention back to the Yamato, who apparently has no regard for his own safety. He's opening up his broadside in front of me and I think friendly Alaska. We aim right at the infamous cheek citadel weakness for the Yamato, but our shells manage to miss it, and I think they're going to miss again before he takes himself around that island. We can't turn around, though. We're sort of being zoned out of this part of the map. We certainly can't push into a Shima. We're not going to push into the Yamato and the GK at the same time, but the Yamato giving all that broadside to the Alaska. Actually, is that 2 Alaskas, or is that an Alaska and a Des Moines? Either way, he's going to end up going down before our torpedoes even come close to him. We're taking ourselves further away from the Shima, and we're witnessing a moment that illustrates precisely why I use Kondo as one of the inspirations on all my battleship builds, including this one. The Republique could not see us there because our concealment is so good till we shot our guns. We're able to angle away from him before shooting, and thus we're able to control the engagement and the amount of damage we take. And you may be saying to yourself, well, Xarkun, you haven't taken much damage at all. In fact, you haven't really done anything. And to that, I would say you are correct. I haven't done anything because I spawned on the Alpha flank, and that Alpha flank is occupied by 2 out of 3 of the remaining enemy DDs, as well as 2 battleships. Well, at least the Republique is getting closer to it. The GK, of course, is still over there, which means that no, we're not going to push into the alpha flank, and if we can't push in, ultimately we aren't going to get a whole lot done. But take a look at what is happening on the rest of the map. Remember how I said my entire team was moving toward alpha in the beginning and forming the classic lemming train? Well, now the inadvisable tactical maneuvering is complete. My team is all focused into one corner of the map, aside from a lone destroyer up north all the way inside of the enemy spawn, who is going to accomplish nothing except sinking early, as destroyers often do in this game. But the fact that my team is concentrated in this corner means the enemy has control of the entirety of the map. They could surround us and take us out quite quickly. They can push straight into us, and there's not a lot we can do about it, especially right now. I would love to push into this Yamato, but I can't. Why can't I? Well, the Bravo cap has just turned red, so that means the third of the 3 remaining enemy destroyers is near it and near me, and probably torping me. In fact, we already took a torp from him. It is a Shimakaze. And of course, since it's a Shimakaze, he thinks he must get as close as possible. Since he only hit us with 1 torp on the first salvo, now he's got to get within detection range to hit us with the rest of his torps. This, of course, is a terrible mistake on his part, and it's going to result in his tragic demise. Not so tragic for us, of course, but tragic for him. We've stacked our secondary bonus 3 times now, which means they are reloading 15% faster, and this right here just goes to show you why I don't think the Shimakaze is as scary as some people seem to think. Those torpedoes just provide infinite space for battleships to dodge. All you have to know is what direction they're coming from. And now that the Shima is dead and we know both of the other enemy DDs are on the alpha side, there is nothing zoning us out from this side of the map. There's nothing preventing us from pushing. The only concern I have is the battleship over there in Alpha. He might be able to have our broadside, but the closer we get to this Yamato, I think the further away we get from him, and the less likely it becomes that he shoots us. In any case, though, the enemy team has 2 out of 3 of the caps, and they're working on flipping the 3rd, so something has to be done here. There's still 7 minutes left to go on the clock, but if things don't improve, we are going to lose. On the other side of the map, near Alpha, our last remaining destroyer torpedoes the battleship inside, and remember, both of the enemy DDs are in there. The enemy team does not have to play aggressively right now either, and they certainly shouldn't be throwing away their ships. But those 2 destroyers in the Alpha cap, I think they're going to end up throwing away their ships for no reason, which is going to contribute to the enemy team's loss. They could just run away. They do have the cap advantage and the points advantage. They just need to maintain it, and they really only need to hold 2 caps to do that. Meanwhile, this Yamato directly in front of me is engaging in the common battleship tactic of stopping, being completely still, bow tanking, and reversing. This is never a good idea if you're facing more than 1 enemy ship, and really it's never a good idea to just stop and sit still in your battleship, particularly if you're being charged by a German battleship with, 16 torpedoes? The Rupprecht has 8 torpedoes on either side. We've hit the Yamato with 2 of them, and our final launcher here is going to be enough to take him out. We did lose a lot of HP in the process, but this just goes to show you a number of things that I've been harping on lately. A, you should be concerned about your hit points even in a battleship. Yes, tanking for your team is a thing. Throwing away your hit points for no reason is no benefit to anybody. So it's a good thing we played safe in the early game until it became clear we could push. And we knew we could push when there were no destroyers in our way. Evaluation of the map and the situation in the game at all times is a necessary skill to master if you want to do well in battleships. And you'll see we come out on top of the leaderboard in this game. That's going to be thanks in large part to our doing a lot of damage to that Shimakaze. I think taking all of his HP, as well as pretty much most of the HP of that Yamato, and we might even flip this cap here before the game ends. But all that's left is gearing, and maybe there's a snowball's chance in hell that that gearing could win, and get the solo warrior, but I don't think he's really going to make an attempt at that. He just comes out right in front of my teammates over there, and they're going to be able to take him out, and, well, this is going to be a throw for the enemy team. You can hear Brutus, perhaps, in the background, snorting with contempt at the enemy for letting this one slip through its fingers. But yes, I think a good example of the phenomenon that often happens in this game, where one team gets the early advantage, they have everything going for them, all they have to do to win is absolutely nothing, and then they all die trying to win that little bit harder. A theme we've talked about before, and another glowing example of it. Plus, the secondary mod on Rupprecht, pretty spicy, I think. Hope you enjoyed the video. If so, give it a thumbs up, consider subscribing if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.